Always a pleasure to have your company on Richard Mwenje Exclusive. I'm not alone in studio. I'm with your favorite think tank, Professor Herman Manyora. We want to bring home what's happening in Kenya's political and governance landscape. Prof, today in an all-white regalia signifying peace, and national unity. Prof,
yes,
you are now becoming a statesperson. Call for peace, all white.
Yes.
And national unity.
Yes.
After the MOU between UAD and ADM.
I have nothing to do with that. Yes.
You're not part of those who the architects behind the MOU?
Not at all.
Not even by virtue of you being a close friend of Raila Odinga?
Friendship and business are different.
So that was
MOU
business.
was their business, but friendship is different. Yeah.
Talking about the MOU, weeks after that particular MOU, we've seen reshufflement within the executive in the ranks of PSS, our envoys, diplomatic envoys out here.
Yes.
And Raila's men and women have made it to the nomination list of those who are going to be appointed as PSS or even envoys. And many would wish to understand, is Raila finally reaping the dividends of this MOU between UDA and ODM and the larger broad-based government?
It would seem so. It does seem so.
At the altar of the interest of Kenyans, who many were not for the handshake in the first place?
You know, if their interests in politics, they are personal interests. That's how politics works. You people in Kenya want to reinvent politics. If their interests, they are Ruto's interest and Raila's interest, Kalonzo's interest, Matiangi's interest, you know.
Are you signifying that we don't stand a chance to re-engineer the politics of Kenya? Even
we have a chance. We have a chance, and indeed, there can be no better time than now to re-engineer our politics. But so long as this politics, as we know it, then it's a matter of interests. Yeah.
To what extent, Prof, do you think President Ruto is going to cede ground for Raila Odinga just so to steady his ship? Do you see Ruto ceding more ground, accommodating more of Raila men and women in the side of politics?
I think we have seen nothing. As Americans will say, you ain't seeing nothing yet.
More is on the way?
More should be on the way.
Many are speculating probably we could have a prime minister in town soon enough, constitutional amendment to accommodate such.
I will not be surprised.
The president can go to that level?
Yes, and more.
I want to understand, how hard is it for the president to steady his ship without the help of Raila Odinga? The balance of the time, you're talking about 2.5 years.
President Ruto got himself where he is. He walked into it. And not without our warning. We warned him. We advised him. We told him, whatever difference that there are between you and Gachagua, handle them with caution. Don't go overboard. Don't impeach. Scare him, but don't impeach him. Now, he created his own problems. Now, compare this. Being with Gachagua and bearing a bit of the, you can call it what you want to call it, push, what, even call it nonsense. Stubbornness. Call it what you want. Bearing that from Gachagua and having to deal with Raila now. Which is better? Which would be more comfortable for the president? It will be better handling Gachagua as your deputy than now having Raila who will demand an arm and a length and a half.
Talking about those who've been nominated for PS positions or even envoy positions, among the envoy nominees are former health CS Deborah and Susan Nakumiche. And many are questioning, is it that we have a shortage of talents in this country who can serve the government in different capacities? Because even the ouster of Nakumiche was justified that she was incompetent and clueless about technical prowess in heading the health ministry. Why then reassign her other duties within public service? Can't we have new people in board?
There are never any new people. There are no new people. People are just those old people.
Why the recycle? Why the reshuffling?
That's Kenyan politics for you. That is Kenyan way of doing things. It's a Kenyan problem. It is a Kenyan problem. Any of these people, any of them, be it Kalonzo, be it who, appoint them, make them president today, and they will do the same thing Ruto is doing. And Ruto is doing exactly what Uhuru did, what Kibaki did, what Moi did, what Jomo Kenyatta did. The same pattern.
How different would Manyora do?
It will be a complete overhaul.
Even those who financed your campaigns?
Who will finance my campaign? The people of Kenya will finance my campaign. It will be a complete overhaul. Complete overhaul. Complete overhaul. Complete overhaul. So just to quote the usual quote, I'll drain the swamp.
You'll drain the swamp?
Washington will be cleared.
Belio Kipsang won't get another PS position in your government?
None of them.
Legacy politicians and
None of them. none of them will have a space in my government. My government will be a government of work, people who can work. Yeah. Any one of them can join my government, but on only one condition.
Which is?
Which is you must have the capacity and you must be ready to work.
Not just the papers?
No. Capacity. I'll not even look at what you have.
PhD perhaps?
No, masters, even in my government there will be people who never even went to secondary school.
Serving in strategic offices?
They will be there. Moi never went to secondary school, but he was president for 24 years.
Many have concluded it as 24 years of misrule.
How? But Kenya was afloat. When many other countries were collapsing, Kenya was afloat.
Are you convinced it's a case of not only recycling the same old tax in public service, but also more of a case of garbage in, garbage out, more of taking political rejects and incompetent state officers at one point and giving
That's
them
how it is. That is how it is. You know what? Countries across the world survive from stability that is offered by the civil service, the public service. Politicians can fight. Politicians come and go. Governments come and fall. Sometimes in succession, like we saw in the recent past in the UK, Italy, sometimes Japan, especially parliamentary systems. Within 1 year, you can even have 3 different governments. In the UK, they set a record. I think it was 7 months or 7 weeks, I've forgotten. But you know, that Kenyan Indian, then that lady, then before that lady, the Kenyan, until the current one. In a very short span, the stability is offered by the civil service or the public service. So it pains me a great deal when we bypass career civil servants. In our appointment of diplomats and principal secretaries, I know a principal secretary is somewhere between a technocrat and a politician, even in America. So that the CS is supposed to be a politician. So people got it wrong when you are saying ministers should not be politicians. They got it wrong. Nobody should be more political than the presidential appointee at the ministry. They play the politics on behalf of the president. Below them, there's the principal secretary, in our case. Those ones are called secretaries. But we must fuse, we must mix career diplomats and politicians from outside. So I want to see a situation where anytime we are appointing principal secretaries, we are promoting career civil servants. Career civil servants.
Who've been in the trenches for many
years.
Yes.
When we are appointing our ambassadors and other diplomats, high commissioners and so on and so forth, we must also encourage members, people from the diplomatic service, foreign service experts, to rise to ambassadorial levels, to high commissioners and so on and so forth. We want the principal secretaries to come from outside, but also leave room for career civil servants to come up and be to the top principal secretaries. That's what I want to see. But to answer your question, we are in this country, it's always expediency, conveniency, and reward system, cronies, those who finance your election. It can't be like that. There are many things you can give people who supported you. Government is big, like they say.
The biggest employer.
If somebody has supported you financially to become president, you don't have to make him a minister. Just expand his business.
That's how you accommodate him.
Yeah, expand his business. Give him business opportunities, genuine business. Government has a lot of business. In fact, if you are not doing business with government, you can't be doing business in this country. Reward your friends in different ways. Because a minister, CS, a principal secretary, these are the people to help you run government. Those positions can't be reserved for cronies, for people who, busybodies, people without ability, people who can't distinguish their left hand from their right hand. How will you then run government? How will you deliver to the people of Kenya? How will you deliver on your promises? You cannot. So Ruto has a problem, and he's not the only one, because he doesn't have a team.
Despite the many advisors on board?
He doesn't have a team. Those are just busybodies.
Not even the addition of Professor Kisiangani is going
That
to
is a
help.
dumping. Kisiangani has been taken a place where he'll be reading newspapers, all of them, both local and international. By 10 o'clock, you have read all the papers, and you are wondering what to do now next. There's nothing to be done there.
That silent terming of Professor Kisiangani?
He has been sacked, that's all.
Prof,
Yes.
I want to understand something. This reshuffle comes barely weeks after the pact between President Ruto and Raila Odinga, in which they say it's which is going to herald national unity and tribalism in this country and spearhead Kenya's democratic space. Now, if you look at the composition of the nominees, do they reflect the national outlook that we are talking about and inclusion of people from all regions, gender equality and all that?
Absolutely no. It just entrenches the Kenyan thing of tribe. Yeah,
Nothing about national inclusion?
nothing.
But
But I'm not bothered about national inclusion. I'm not bothered about how many Luos are there or Kalenjin or Kikuyu. That has never been my bother. My bother, do we have people there with the capacity to run government?
So your government can have all ministers Kikuyu, but as
I don't
long as
mind.
they work.
I don't mind, although that won't work because you also need to take care of public perception. You also need to be cognizant of what the Constitution says about inclusivity. But I'm just saying, to me, it's not a very big issue. The issue to me, and I've raised this issue many times, is the capacity. Can any of these people sit here and I interview them to get the job? They will not get the job. Any of them.
Dead on arrival?
Of course. None of them can be interviewed by me. Just sit there, ask you want to be PS of this ministry.
Yeah.
Even what you know about the ministry alone. Your understanding of the bigger challenges facing this country and how your ministry then contributes in solving those problems. Because there must be the usual global problems. And then there is your small docket. How does it contribute? So you must understand the global problem. What are the challenges facing Kenya today? You know, in a multi-faceted way. And how does the docket you want to occupy contribute?
So finally,
how would it contribute to, even if you are looking to be a CS health or a PS health, if I asked you how you can ease the burden of fees from Kenyans before we think about free education, I give you 5 minutes. These people just walk out of that interview room.
Clueless?
Yeah. And I ask you, if I were to be very rough on you and ask you, we want to give free education today, what will be the challenges? Is it possible? Is it feasible? None of them, they will just run out of the interview room.
Prof, there is this growing negative perception about Raila Odinga, more so after he made this pact with President William Ruto. And many believe that it has always been about his interest, selfish interest. For Raila Odinga, does he have the wiggle room to be comfortable? In as much as out here, the rage is building up and many feel that he's shedding down his legacy.
I have already told you, politics about personal interests. So if Raila has, over the years, been seen to champion the interests of the people, then he wasn't a really politician in the sense of a politician. So if now he's a politician, because he has wanted to be president, you people have refused to make him president. So he says, let me be a politician like any other politician. And once you are a politician, then it's about your interests. What's wrong with that? I'm not saying that's what's happening, but what will be wrong with that? The question of whether he can sit pretty. In politics, nobody ever sits pretty.
That was my question.
There are daggers all around waiting for Caesar. The king is never pretty. There are people who always want his throne. So in politics, when you have some position, people always want that position.
So he needs to engage Ruto at arm's length.
Even within, even his own people, there are always people. The palace coup is never staged by outsiders. It is staged by the insiders.
There could be traitors in the temple, in the world of Raila Odinga.
It is always there in politics. You are always ready for that. Raila must be ready for all these things. But there is something you have raised, which I have also raised before. The push from outside may be so bad, it may force Raila at some point to reconsider his position. As you say, you observe correctly that the people of this country seem to be unhappy with this arrangement between Ruto and Raila. Not just unhappy, but they are mad. They are angry. if they begin to express this anger in certain ways, Raila, being a people's person, may not ignore it for long. So my fear for Ruto is that Raila may be genuine in his support for Ruto, but the people may push Raila, and the voice of the people may rise so high Raila may not ignore.
Could vote out of this arrangement at the 11th hour?
Yes, not because of trickery or anything, or no, just because the push from the people could be irresistible. That's what I fear for Ruto, and it could come at the wrong time.
It could come.
Raila may find it untenable to continue working with Ruto because of the people, and Raila is a people's person.
Do you foresee President?
It's very difficult to ignore the people if you are Raila. So, and that's why I did a video and I say, the sooner they realize this, the better, the two of them. And Raila must begin pushing Ruto to implement some of the things that will vindicate Raila's cooperation with Ruto. He must begin now. And their things are so clear. Hakuna kitu ya kutafutia, kuna shift.
Abductions.
The abductions, killings, university funding, university education in general, cost of living on specific items, taxes, levies, housing. These things, Raila has to push Ruto into reconsidering and removing some.
Failure to which he runs the risk of carrying the baggage of incumbency.
If he doesn't, and the noise outside continues, you can lock yourself in the house and continue eating, but the noise outside may be unbearable, may get to a point where and they are coming closer. They may burn the house, and you don't want to be burnt inside. You can leave, but the owner of the house may say, hapa ni kwangu, wacha nikufie hapa. Hapa ni kwangu, wacha nitakufia hapa. Like there was this guy called Ceausescu, and his wife Helena, at the collapse of the Berlin Wall, the so-called end of the Cold War. The guy from Romania. The queen, Helena, the wife to Ceausescu, told these people, finish us here. Do it if you are men. And they shot them. They were executed. She went down fighting. And they had an opportunity to run away. They were even given, I think that opportunity was better available to them, but they chose to run. Gaddafi said he would die in Libya. Saddam Hussein. So the owner of the house may refuse to quit. When you are bringing the house down, you are burning the house, he may say, let me go down with my house. But Raila is not the owner of the house. He may choose to get out of the house before the crowds come with the torches to torch the house.
Well, there you have it from Herman Manyora discussing the state of politics in Kenya today, and more specifically the latest reshuffles within the executive in the positions of PSS and our diplomatic envoys. It remains to be seen whether the government will tap into his nuggets of wisdom. We get to this again next week with Professor Herman Manyora. Remember to tune in to our other editions, and coming up is my edition with Nerima Wako Ojiwa. Every Tuesday, it's me and Honorable Kipchirap Kiro. Remember to follow Jadil Kabiro as well and Evans Okinyi with their individual editions.